Well, Pastor Dowell did a video today, earlier. Well, today is yesterday by the time you're seeing this video. On the 14th of January. Titled, Girl Raped in Classroom. Hang on. While teacher was still in the room. Girl raped in classroom while teacher was still in the room in a public school. He's got a lot to say about that. And I agree with every word out of his mouth. Every word out of his mouth. And as I mentioned on his comment and commenting on his video, that just gives me all the more power to make sure my wife continues homeschooling our children. Plain and simple. But having said that, it does hold weight when you look at city life in a populated area, populated city, versus rural out in the country. There's a whole slew of positives of why living out in the country with less population is better. This kind of stuff, usually you wouldn't find that in a rural classroom setting because there's a lot less students per teachers. Again, just when you look at the city, there's more crime, there's just more of everything. You go out in the country and the rural, there's less of all of it. So the statistics are just better. And for example, where, this is basically the area, the city, I'm fixing to show you behind me in the screen, of a 5-mile radius in Florida. Basically, I said, there's Tampa, Florida, and where I live right next to that is Brandon, Florida, which is a lot smaller than Tampa. But even so, Brandon is pretty big. I'm talking like 100,000+ people live in Brandon. So it's a pretty decent sized city. And I want to show you, which I've got the information you're about to see, both in Tennessee and in Florida. Got it from the government of Florida and the government of Tennessee websites where the sexual predators live, because all that is logged. And I'm going to start with Florida. Let me scoot on over here. I blurted out a little bit, whatever, but this is basically Brandon. And as you can see, every one of these dots, even these red ones, I'm not sure what they signify, but all of them signify a sexual predator of some nature. Plain and simple. And I didn't actually count these. And by the way, this is a 5-mile radius of roughly in the general area that I live. I decided to look close by and just do like a little circular radius. I did the same thing, in all fairness, to the Tennessee map, 5-mile radius. And this is what Brandon, Florida looks like with sexual predators within 5 miles of my house. Pretty disturbing, to tell you the truth. And I'm not even showing you Tampa. I didn't even look at Tampa. I would be frightened to look at anywhere in Tampa in a 5-mile radius. Probably be shocking, because there's far more people living there. So there's that view. This is factual data from the state of Florida website. And then we have this. The circle represents 5 miles. I know I zoomed in a little closer, but either way, let me scoot on over. That's 5 miles. And there was some writing and stuff that I blurred out, whatever. But you see 3. You see 3 yellow dots on the map. That's roughly the area. Not exactly, but I put extremely close just to be fair. 5-mile radius. 1, 2, 3 yellow dots in a 5-mile radius, which represents 3 sexual offenders, again, of some sort. Let's go back to Brandon. Let's go back to Brandon, Florida. In the circle, in the red circle, that's 5 miles. Shocking. Shocking, shocking, shocking. So when your kids go to school, or they walk to school, or ride their bike to school, or however they get to school, especially those who walk. Oh, poor kids. Just to let you know, because as I mentioned, I volunteer for the local sheriff's office in Florida, in Hillsborough County. I don't anymore as of last Friday, because I've basically somewhat resigned / permanent leave of absence kind of thing. And we do what is called the Citizen Patrol Anybody can do it. It's not like you're a cop or nothing. But I know, looking at this map, I can point to where all the schools are. I mean, I could do it right now. And I can assure you, without sitting here wasting my time pointing to every single school, I'm talking elementary school, middle school, high school. Nowhere around there is safe. Kids walking home from any of those schools will be walking right extremely near a sexual predator based off of this map. I mean, it's obvious. And I'm telling you now, there's several schools. Not a few. There are several schools within that 5-mile radius. Okay? So, in other words, probably like 8 to 10 schools. I'm guessing right around there. 8 to 10 schools I can easily show you. So, if you had to just random... And again, there's going to be an elementary school over here. They're not going to have one right down the street because then everyone would be able to choose back and forth. No, they don't do that. It's one for this area, another elementary school for that area, another elementary school for this area. They're spread out. So if you were picking on that map, there's one place that I see you'd really like to pick, and it's right about here. But as you can see, there aren't really any streets over there. Now there's a couple of small streets, and no, there's not a school there. So let's assume there was. That's your only safe spot. And there is a little safe spot here. From the looks of it, there's a little one here. There's not going to be one here because this is an interstate system. So I know there's no schools over there. But here, that looks like a decent area. And up here, maybe a little decent area. But what's all around there? Sexual predators everywhere. How about the rest of this place? All the way up through here. How about that? You know how many schools and stuff are in there? There's several. It means your kids are walking right in front of them. And the sexual predators are probably just waiting to pounce. I wonder, when I moved to Tennessee, in rural area, you just saw a 5-mile radius, so here's another 5-mile radius. I wonder if my kids are going to be walking by any sexual predators. Number one, they're not going to school, or they're being homeschooled. But if I knew that they were like outside playing, and we got quite a bit of land out there, 10.5 acres, quiet neighborhood, obviously there's a few neighbors nearby. You think I'm going to have the kind of worry that I would have here? We have neighbors that I could almost throw a rock at their house. And my wife and I say, man, I wouldn't let my kids ride a bike or walk over here. I wouldn't be letting them come home this late at night. And every time they did, if I did, I'd be standing out there watching them. And then when they leave, I'd make sure I'm out there watching them. Or I would tell the mother, make sure you stand outside and watch my kid go home. I'll do the same for you, that kind of thing. The lady that lets her kids come over here, her kids could probably get lost and it wouldn't even matter. Wouldn't even have a clue. So, anyways, that, like mother, like daughter, whatever you want to call it, in some of these people's situations, like parent, like, kid, whatever, not us. We don't run that way. So, anyways, kind of a video response to Pastor Dowell's video. Take care.